and welcome back. My name is Scorpios, and this week I am back with a medieval/Tudor house design. Compared to the larger scale projects that I'm used to building, this house is very modest in its size, and it looks fantastic for a starter base as well. So I'm going to jump right into my building process, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and let's get started. To get this project started, you are going to lay down a foundation using brick blocks, and on the screen right now I'm going to show you the number of blocks that you will need if you would like to follow along in my building process. And on the foundation that you just laid down, make sure to have 3 to 5 blocks coming out on one side of the walls like what you're seeing on the screen right now. And make sure to complete this step before you build upwards, because this is where the chimney for this build is going to be. And once you have a proper foundation, you're going to continue to build up the structure. And in my case, the height of the first floor of this building is going to be 4 blocks. And although I'm using brick blocks in this particular tutorial, you should also feel free to experiment with other types of materials such as stone bricks. And now we're going to move on to the second floor of this house. And for this step, we will be using spruce logs. And what I'm doing right now is laying down a wooden frame. And the trick to this step is to make sure that a wooden frame extends 1 block out of the brick foundation. And just make sure that you do that all the way around the entire second floor. And this step is very important because it is going to give this house a medieval look to it. And one last thing to note about this step is that on the wall where you decide to place down your chimney, just make sure to switch to the building block of your choice, like what I'm doing on the screen here. And with that out of the way, we're going to start working on the walls of the second story. Here on one of the walls, I'm going to add 3 spruce logs on its corner. And I'm going to build this up exactly like what you're looking at on the screen right now. So I'm just adding these spruce log beams. For each beam that I built towards the center, I'm going to increase the height by 4 blocks. And after that, I'm going to do the same thing with this wall over here. I will be using the same building method. But because this wall is a bit wider, I ended up with 1 more spruce log beam on this side. And once again, just make sure to increase the height of the beam by 4 blocks for each beam you build towards the center. And you should end up with a nice pointy shape like what you're seeing right now. And before I move on to complete the rest of the walls, I'm just going to fill up the space in between with white wool blocks. And for the rest of the wooden frame, I'm just going to add 3 layers of wool blocks. And make sure to add spruce log beams on the corners. And for the wall where the chimney is going to be, you will want to continue to build this up because the chimney has to be taller than any other walls in this house. And once that is complete, I'm just going to go back to the walls by adding some more wooden beams. Although there should be some sort of symmetry overall, I would suggest that you do not have these wooden beams evenly spaced out, because that will add to the whimsical nature of this Tudor house. And on that note, you can also add these triangle shapes like what you're seeing on the screen right now. And as you will see later in this video, this will make your roof look a lot more interesting. But before I start working on the roof, I'm going to make sure to add the necessary details to the walls of this house. And one thing that you will want to make sure to have is a front entrance. I'm also building these support columns by placing down 2 stair blocks and a bunch of wall blocks in between. And here I'm just going to place down 3 columns for each of the walls. And I will make sure to have the same amount of space in between these columns for each wall, and this way they do not become too distracting. And another thing that you can add are these windows that are exactly 2 blocks large. You can probably make them even smaller if you wish, but if you look at medieval castles or houses, they tend to have smaller windows. And to the contrary, the windows on the second floor can be slightly larger, and in this case I am building a 3x3 window. And here I'm just going to add some spruce trapdoors and some spruce stairs. And those additions are basically going to serve as window frame. And another thing that you can do to break down the large patches of white wool is to simply take some spruce logs and add a bunch of more vertical beams, or you can do a checkered pattern like what I'm doing here. And overall, when you're building a Tudor style house like this, you should definitely experiment and break up the pattern a little bit, because the lack of a centrally planned design is a common feature of houses that are built in this time period. And here on the back side of this house, I'm going to create 2 smaller windows that are each 2 blocks tall and 3 blocks wide. And I'm going to add in window frames by using the method that I mentioned before. And before I start working on the roof, I'm just going to go around the building one last time. And my goal here is really just to see if I can further break down patches of white color on the walls. And I'm doing that by introducing some more spruce logs. And once that is complete, I'm going to start working on the roof, going to extend 2 blocks further from the walls on the second story of this house. And the materials that I'm using are a combination of dark oak planks and dark oak stairs. However, if you do not have those materials available in your survival world, you can also use other materials such as stone bricks or spruce wood. And on the lower edges of the roof, I'm going to introduce a little bit of a curve by using only stair blocks. And I'm going to extend the roof structure by replicating the same pattern here on this wall. And as it will be the case for the entire roof structure, the central axes of the roof are going to be 2 blocks tall with another layer of half slabs on top to prevent mobs from spawning. And as you can see here, I'm just going to do the same thing for the backside of this house as well. And once again, the roof is going to extend 2 blocks from the wall itself. And once that is complete, the next step is just to fill in the rest of the roof. And once again, I'm using a combination of dark oak planks and dark oak stairs with a layer of half slabs on the very top of the roof. But you can also experiment with other materials such as stone bricks. And this step could be a little challenging if you're new to building roof structures like this. But that is why I'm showing you my building process, and this way you can get a sense of how the process looks like. And once the roof structure is complete, I'm just going to go around the roof and add a bunch of stair blocks like what you're seeing on the screen right now to smooth out the rough edges. And what you end up with is a roof structure that is quite popular on starter houses nowadays. And the next thing I'm going to do is an optional step. Basically, I'm just throwing in some blocks of granite, polished granite, jungle wood planks, and terracotta to give the walls a little bit of a texture. And I myself have only recently started doing texturing in this particular style. So if you like the way the textures have been added here, make sure to leave a comment down below because I would love to make a separate tutorial on texturing in the near future. But as you can see, my basic goal here is to break up the pattern as much as possible without making the walls look too messy. And by the way, I forgot to render this part of my recording footage, but you do want to go back and turn the chimney into a 3x5 brick tube like what you're seeing on the screen here, and add some campfire for the nice particle effects as well. And once again, this step is completely optional, but you could go back and add some more texture to the second story of this house as well. And here I'm just adding in some white concrete blocks as well as white concrete powder. And I'm just going to do it all the way around the second story of this house. And that is all I have for this week's build tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next build tutorial here on my channel. Goodbye!